I emerged from the forest trail where Jane and I used to share our fondest memories as kids. The rain started to come down more than I'd like, so I made my way quickly to my car. I used my coat as a shield between me and the shower I didn't ask for. In the back of my mind, I could still hear the waves crashing against the rocks below, almost building like a pendulum in my mind. When I got in my car, I took that moment, that little moment, to be silent and stare forward out of my windshield. The pouring rain was like a baptism, and each drop was like a whisper to me, a droplet of memory being washed away, my sins and my faults, but also the painful and mournful bellow of my regrets. Move on. Yeah. My words were a self-scripture. Starting my car with my hands gripping onto the steering wheel, I felt the sense of peace when I walked away from the cliff, but the walk through the forest trail by the river opened up new questions in my mind. I decided that maybe some music would calm my mind and make the drive a little easier. I went to reach for my phone, but then I realized I just threw it over a cliff and no longer had it. Well, radio it is. I pressed the power button to the radio. I let the calming music guide my drive as I pulled away. I started to drive along the road that was on the back streets behind the town. The rain, the sound of my car, and the song on the radio was my background symphony for my thoughts. How can she expect me to leave here and move on? I just... What does she want? There's so much that hasn't been answered that she just... Ugh! I can't. This is... It's too much. What does she mean? What's a shattered abyss? How is she calling me? How is she coming back? How am I still alive? How... There's so much, I just don't get it. Should I call the cops on her parents? But can I really? 'Cause I don't know. I should just go back to her house, yeah. I'll go back to her house. And, well, I don't know what I'll find. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I should just go back to her house and just try to find the answers. Yeah. Yeah, that'll do that. I decided with myself that I would go to Jane's house just one more time, just to see and quell my curiosity. There was a loud honk from a car behind me as I pulled away into a swerve to make a sudden turn, and I sped back to the house and sat in my car for a moment. I must be crazy. She told me to move on and go. I could. I should. But I won't. Something in my heart just won't let me. In a way, I wanted some crazy sense of justice for Jane, or to even find more answers as to how this entire thing happened to me. I walked up the steps of the front door and greeted her confused mother, at which time I told her I left my phone in Jane's room, hesitantly, which was a little weird to me. She let me go back up there. Inside her room, it was as if I left it, just as it was. But this time, I started to look through more of her journals. Much of it was the same. The almost insane writings of somebody tortured by a religious proclivity, but scribblings about a place called the Shattered Abyss, echoed here and echoed there. While I was in here, I noticed that the closet door was open. Funny, I thought I had closed it when I left. Maybe there was something in there. I slowly approached the closet, the many locks on the outside still giving a soft chill down my spine. I peeked into the dark corner of the room and turned on the light. It was cleaned up. Immaculate even. Her mother knew I had seen it, yet she let me back up here. The thought of that angered me, but I had to let it go. What was I doing? I turned off the light and backed away from the closet, my eyes looking into that dark abyss with remorse and regret. I'm sorry, Jane. I should just go. Move on. When I was about to leave, I heard the sound of wood creaking in the dark of the closet. My eyes focused in the blank unknown as it got a little closer. Jane? I called out, but then that black hand from before reached out. This time, it gripped my shirt tight. The strength of it almost ripped the fabric as I was pulled into the dark. The closet slamming shut behind me with the locks welding shut by some unknown force. I saw nothing but blackness. Dark. Cold. As I fell into a dark unknown, with my sight fading into nothing, I blacked out and I fell into the dark abyss.
You should have left. You should have gone, and here you are.
Jane. What the fuck? I stood to my feet, and I tried to take in my surroundings. I couldn't see a thing. All I heard was the sound of wind. Wind in a dark void. I couldn't see a thing, so I had to use my hands as a guiding force in this unknown. It was so dark, yet somehow after a while I could see my hands in front of me, as if it just became a fully lit room. I was confused, and I was freezing. It was like I was outside in a cold abyss, but I was inside somehow. I couldn't help instinct, and I started to rub my biceps using my hands to keep warm while I walked to where I did not know. The floor felt like it was made out of stone, but I couldn't see any walls or make out if I was in a structure or outside. I kept walking through the dark until I felt my foot hit something. It felt like a small cylindrical object, and I picked it up. A flashlight? Here?
Go on. Use it. Pick it up.
Where are you, Jane? Jane? Damn it, I could hear her, but I don't know where she... Okay. I called out, but there was nothing. I turned on the flashlight and decided to see where I was. A sense of confusion washed over me. I was in a house, it looked like. The light casting across the walls of the house and showing me its old architecture. It wasn't just any house. It was Jane's house. But it felt huge, expanded, wide, as if I was an ant on the floor, yet everything was regular sized. The one thing that was definitely different was that her house seemed abandoned, like the end of the world just happened, and I'm walking into a wasteland. This was more true when I opened the first door I found, and I was outside. The beautiful, lush, small-town glory of forests, bustling homes were replaced by decay and falling ash. All of the houses appeared abandoned or burned, yet I needed this flashlight to see. The death and decay on display was a broken memory to behold. I could see the river which we once walked. From here. Frozen. As cold as I felt my eyes were beholden to this nightmare. Yet my mind painted it back, as it was when we were children.
Why didn't you just leave like I told you to? Why?
The sound of Jane's voice guided my flashlight over to her. Her face was as it was when she was alive, but slightly more pale, like horrible things had happened to her. Do you really think that I would leave without finding out at least a little bit more about what happened? How you were able to call me from the other side? How you were, I don't know, appearing to me? You're the one who pulled me here. You reached out of that damned closet and yanked me here, so I don't know why you're getting mad at me. I don't know if this was some angry reaction to the fact that I didn't just immediately leave and move on. Why did you even pull me here?
I'm not the one who pulled you here. Okay? There is something else here with us. I told you that there were things here that you wouldn't understand, okay?
What are you talking about? If you didn't pull me here, then what did? That's what I don't understand. This is why I didn't leave. I felt in my heart that I felt in my heart that there was more to this than you were telling me. And I couldn't let it go, okay? So I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry that I wanted to know why my best friend jumped off of a cliff. It couldn't be. Look, I understand your parents locked you in a closet. I understand I didn't answer your phone calls, but there's more to this than you just being. I'm so confused. I don't even know what's happening right now. I need you to tell me what's happening.
I don't even truly know what's happening. There's something walking around here trying to take me. They keep trying to take me. It was something my mom did when I was younger after my dad died. That's when all of this started. I never wanted this for you, but no. They're coming for you too. Probably to stop you from taking me or helping me.
Oh, well, that's just awesome. Great. So, any ideas of where I can start to try and get out of this scary, abandoned looking version of our town that's a total nightmare soundscape? If you have any suggestions, that would be great. I mean, well, on the bright side, at least it's not raining anymore. It's a little cold. Not the worst place to go on a walk with you. Jane's terrified reaction and her sudden scream made me turn around and expose who was causing the heavy footsteps and the sound of a dragging chain behind me. I turned and my flashlight exposed him. His torn black cloak exposed a blank and black shadow of a face. There was nothing. Simply darkness. He threw out that chain that wrapped around my ankles and pulled me to the ground. I lost the flashlight when I tried clinging to the ground below, trying to use the dirt ground as leverage. That did work for a moment. I felt my lower body lifted from the ground as he pulled me. I tried reaching for Jane, who could only stand and watch with her hands covering her mouth. It was here I witnessed the darkness start to consume her. Hundreds of black and burned hands covering her body as she reached out for me in longing. The hands pulling her back into the darkness, while tears somberly fell down my face. I let go. I felt my body being dragged forcefully before I was swung and thrown into a nearby building. Yet it didn't hit like brick. Instead it shattered like glass and I was in a new place. An endless void of hallways. The architecture was like a hotel from the 1940s, with lights dimly ignited along the endless walls. It was dark, the lights being my only source of light. Oh, old boy. What have you gotten yourself into? The part that shocked me was that I felt cold, yet I didn't feel pain. My body should be in agony over what I just went through, but it was as if I just awoke from a long sleep. Fatigue was a heavy weight on me. I was tired, yet I didn't want to sleep. I leaned against the wall, my breathing getting slower. Get out of here. How am I supposed to do that? I had to collect myself before I would be able to get out of here. I pushed myself up off the wall so I could get a good look at my surroundings. Using the light above my head, I was able to see many doors that lined each wall. Each one had a different number on it, but due to the darkness, I wasn't able to read most. The ones that I could read seemed to have dates on them. Memories? Past events? But from who? Before I could even consider that, I started to think back what Jane was saying to me. She mentioned those words again. Shattered abyss. The way the world cracked like glass when I hit it, maybe that had something to do with it. Then she spoke of people trying to take her. Who? Why? And what did her mother do after her dad died? There were far more questions than answers, but I couldn't afford to sit here and wait. There was a door down the hall to my left, and as I approached, I could make out numbers on it. The date, May 16th. Is that prom?
It was the first prom our school ever had. The only prom, in fact. In a school where boys and girls needed to be separated, it was a bit of irony that prom would become a thing. But then, the sounds of footsteps and a dragging chain started to come up the halls. Even though I could not see the hooded figure, if there was a time, this was it. I slowly turned the knob and closed my eyes. I felt warmth. The sound of music playing echoed in my ears, and when I opened my eyes, I saw Jane in my arms. We were dancing gently, but we were young, yet we both knew each other's gaze. This was not just a memory. We both knew where we were, truly. You really did look beautiful this day. Well, every day, but I remember how beautiful you were today. It was much happier. Things were far more simple.
It was never simple. You know that.
Yeah, I know. I just wish I found an easy way to get out of here.
There's no easy way. I think you know that too.
Yeah, I know. Is there anything that you know that could probably help me while we still have time? Maybe there's something you know that could help me. Help us. Help us both be free of this place.
The place that you're in is memory lane. Your memories, my memories. The thing that's chasing you, you could trap it in here.
Okay, say I keep Mr. Hooded Darkness away from me. What then? Where do I go from there?
You need to go into the shattered abyss. I didn't want you to, but you're gonna have to. Take this locket. It's real. It's a part of life. And it's going to keep you safe. It's going to help you. They're going to chase me because I'm technically a soul that they hadn't been able to claim yet. But you go and you find answers in the shattered abyss. But if they want to take me or take you, don't let them.
Nobody is ever going to take you away again. You are not going to be stuck here. Ever. I won't let that happen. I will get us out of here. I promise you, I will. I'll get us out. You and me. Always. Remember? Like we used to say. Just you and me.
I hope so. I hate being trapped here.
I let the music go for a while. I let it surround us and fill us with a sense of calm, especially as our bodies moved to the sound of the music, and let inner peace fill us with the sounds of the people around us having the time of their lives. Even though that this was just a memory, it was still a nice reprieve from the decaying world around us and what lie in the darkness outside the door that we came through. The music grew hazy, and the happy sounds of conversation started to fade as Jane turned to ash in my arms. She faded into nothing. Nothing but burned remains like a billowing wind of death swept my painted sense of perfection. The loss of a beautiful memory overtook, and I fell to my knees in the now tainted prom hall. The tables which once held laughs and spiked punch were covered in ash. The stage where they crowned two people who smiled with flashes of cameras that captured forever, were now molded and a rotting carcass of what it once was. If you only knew, Jane. If you only knew how much I needed you. I started to scream in agony, misery, confusion. My fists hit the wood floor of the prom hall over and over, in a way that would normally shatter my bones, yet I didn't feel a thing. I didn't feel better. I looked down into one of my clutched palms, and now opened it. I looked at the locket Jane gave me. Its purpose was still unknown to me, but unlike how cold it felt around me, this had the fading tinge of her warmth on it. I placed it in my pocket, feeling a little more confident in my ways. But then, a familiar sound. This distracted me. I looked up to see the hooded figure standing in front of me, standing where Jane once did. Ah. Shit! I was hit by his chains and thrown out the door to impact against the wall leaned against before. It cracked and shattered. as it did when I was thrown into the building. I didn't feel pain, but goddamn did that feel personal. I still had the wind knocked out of me as I crawled, the heavy footsteps on the wood floor getting closer as the figure drew closer to me. By some instinct, I reached into my pockets for something to use, and I felt it. The locket Jane gave me. I made sure to tuck it into my pocket as I stood up and looked at the hooded figure, who was standing not but 4 feet away from me.
You know, we can do this song and dance all day, but what do you want, huh? What do you want from me? Obviously, you're not gonna kill me, clearly, because I'm already dead. I think.
The hooded figure raised his hand, and I was hit with a wave of power that threw me down the hallway. I flew back fast, and it was all a blur. When I stopped, I was on my back with a hard thud in the exact same hallway, yet the hooded figure was a small speck in the distance of my vision.
Yeah? Yeah, well, fuck you too!
The hooded figure suddenly broke into a sprint. I had to think quickly on my feet. I looked to the door next to me, a wince coming over my face due to the date, April 23rd. I swung it open and stepped inside. The sounds of my parents arguing violently filled my ears, and past trauma started to come over my mind. I had to shake it off, especially as the hooded figure stepped through the doorway.
Here's something you can have. You can have it.
All to yourself. On a whim, I raised the locket, and the warmth heated up my hand, and I faded down through the floor. I landed in a different hallway, even though it looked exactly the same as the one I just left. I coughed, slowly standing to my feet with my breathing getting heavy from being thrown like a children's plaything down a hallway. Before me was fate. Another door. November 4th. The old wood of the door was rotted to the core, as if fish from the bottom of an endless ocean, from a time long gone. I could even spy little trails of water emerging from the top of the door frame. It was pooling over the wood to the floor, as formed like a growing puddle from beneath the door itself, where the sound of hard rain could be heard like a distant echo. Oh, no. No. I don't want to see that. Hundreds of hands started to appear on the frame of the door, like termites cutting through wood as they pulled open the door. The walls started to move closer to me like a compactor, and I was trapped, unable to leave. The entire building was shifting until the doorframe came over me like a halo, and I was some sort of deity. Before me was a cliff. The oh-so-familiar cliff. The unmistakable crashing of the waves against rock almost felt full circle. I saw Jane again, standing on the edge of the cliff. I started to run towards her, but my feet felt like they had been falling. Like I was falling like leaves on an autumn day as she fell off. I made it to the edge and just kneeled, my hands resting on the plush grass to hold myself steady. What am I supposed to do? What the purpose of all this was, and what Jane was trying to get me to do, vexed me so. I looked down at the grass. I saw the way each blade parted when the wind blew. All were blowing in the opposite direction, a beautiful chaos I took for granted when I was in my real world. But when the wind blew again, I noticed the chaos started to form in order, all of the blades pointing backwards towards the lone house behind me. I hadn't noticed it before. I was so hard focused on what was in front of me that I never looked back. The entire town was gone, just flat plains of field. The only house was Jane's house. When I made it inside, it was empty, or so I thought. On the TV was simply static, and her mother with her stepfather were sitting on the couch as they always did. But they were desaturated, bleak. When they turned to look at me, their eyes were just black with tiny white flickering dots as they watched me, and I watched them. I started to make my way up the stairs, and it was the longest walk of my life. All of the pictures on the walls that once held smiling pictures of Jane or her parents were scratched out, as if cut with a knife. I felt uneasy, the stairs creaking with every step as I reached Jane's room. It was covered in a thick layer of ash, and Jane was not there. Instead, there was the closet, welded shut with hot metal of the lock still glowing as if freshly torched. The door had hundreds of small black handprints along the white painted wood of the door. I reached into my pocket and I took out that necklace, the locket that Jane had given me. It felt more warm now. The quiet moment was cut by a loud crash downstairs, with a very familiar thud of heavy boots on wood. He was here. A sense of panic started to come over as I heard those heavy footsteps coming up the stairs. I was more urgent now. The way forward, you said. All right. I held up the locket, and the door started to unlock. The metal of each welded lock dropping to the floor and exploding into ash as it hit the wood. The door creaked open slowly, and a black hand reached out from the darkness. It didn't grab me this time. Instead, it curled a finger to beckon me forward. I sucked in a breath and slowly stepped into the darkness, into the unknown. When I emerged, I was in a wide open area. I was surrounded by dark glass that cracked along like spider webs along the surface. Inside there were so many people, different flashes of memories of people I didn't even know. Yet, I saw some of my own, some of Jane's. Soon they all became my memories. For some reason, they were also hers as well. I had to take time to watch each one. Some of these memories painful, some of them bringing me an odd sense of warm peace inside. Warmth inside of this cold abyss that I was currently in. I closed my eyes, letting them marinate inside of my brain. I had this sense of dread inside, as if this would be the last time I would see these memories. I turned and I slowly started walking along the path ahead, but then I heard a voice speak to me, deep, billowing from the depths.
So, you finally came. It was about time now, wasn't it?
He was a specter. Emerging from the dark, he was the one wearing the cloak. Yet, a cloaked man stood next to him, as if there were many of him. I couldn't take my eyes off of him. I felt frozen in place, but not fear. Maybe it was. I'm not sure what it was, but I still had the urge to talk, clutching the locket in my hands as if hiding it from him. He didn't seem to notice that I had it. Or if he did, he probably didn't care. Who are you? And why? Well, I guess the better question is, I assume it was you who pulled me here in the first place.
Your assumptions are correct. I assume you thought it was this Jane who was seeing you, or you seeing her. It was always me. You made the mistake of never ignoring those calls. You made the mistake of interacting with the dead, interfering with the grand scheme of things. You brought this all on yourself. Nobody did this but you.
With what grand scheme? With what plans? What did I interfere with? Jane didn't give me any answers, so I'm assuming you're about to give me some answers. Unless you have a villain speech prepared, I came here for answers and a way to fix this and stop this. That's all I want. So, are you going to give me those answers? Or am I just stuck here forever, withering away to die, to be consumed by some evil spirit, or become like you, just a part of the ship, part of the crew? I want to know what is going on. Why is Jane being chased? Why do you want her? Why am I being attacked? Why are you trying to keep us separated? What are you not telling me?
When her husband died, Jane's mother came looking for answers in the darkest of places. And she found them. And we made a deal in exchange for eternal happiness, wealth, and life. I wanted the soul of her mother's next spouse, and the soul of Jane. 3 souls to bring me energy. 3 souls to worship me. They must be alive. I cannot have the soul of the dead. But then, Jane killed herself. I prevented her from passing on. So she's been stuck here. In the in-between. Life and death. And she will be mine. And I will send her back. Then her mother, and her stepfather will worship me. Will give me power. They will bring me more, and they will be my servants until the end of time.
Then what about me? You're gonna send her back to Earth? Back to her life? What about me? What do you want with me? I don't understand what my purpose is. Why don't you just send me back if you can do that so easily? What's my purpose in all of this? What can you offer me? What if I wanted to make a deal in exchange to give Jane back her life without having to be part of your plan?
I was just going to leave here forever, to stay away. You should have moved on like she told you to. But a deal? Well, I'm willing to make one more deal. You will remain here forever. Never able to live, never able to die. You will be part of me. In exchange, I will send Jane back through the hole of the shattered abyss, back to where before you two even met. And she will have no memory of you, never a single thought. You will never have existed for her. And in the end, things will unfold as they already will, and I will have her too. You can either take that and at least give her a chance to live a little longer, or you're both here, and you both would be mine forever.
The cold reality was setting in for me. Soft, warm tears came down my cold face. But then I remembered a part of life. I looked down into my hands that held the locket, and I considered what he has said. Even if it hurt, the idea of her never having a memory of me, and then falling into this darkness once again. I don't know if I could do it, but it didn't seem like I had a choice. An idea started to form in my brain, and I looked to the figure, and I slowly nodded my head. I'll take that deal. Take me, but send her back.
So it always was, and always shall be.
The black hands that had plagued me and plagued Jane took over me, but I didn't resist. Instead, I looked up to the hooded figure that stood in the dark, the one that was keeping us apart. I wondered if that would be me, especially as I was consumed by darkness. The glass above showed me all of Jane's memories with me, and as if in fast forward, the glass shattered and reformed. Jane was in school where we met, but I didn't exist. Everything that happened to her would happen, but without me. Everything would happen anyway, but I wouldn't be there to help her. I wouldn't get a second chance. As I felt the hands come over my face, pulling me into the darkness, I held that locket tight. She had a new start, but I knew it would be just the same. But this time, he would have what he wanted. Free, without resistance. I had to stop this, no matter what. For her, my friend is not dead, and she won't die. Not this time.
Whispers in the night, shadows in the light, tears that never dry, underneath the sky. Cold is the wind, darkness setting in, loneliness begins. of